We live in an era where work-life balance is preached like gospel. Open any wellness blog, corporate handbook, or self-help bestseller. You'll find it there. The promise of a life where career ambitions and personal happiness coexist in perfect harmony. We're told to balance our hustle with rest, to grind without burning out, and to be present at work and at home. Yet if we're honest, most of us are failing at this balancing act. We clock out of one role only to clock into another. We chase deadlines while worrying about personal obligations. We attempt to relax, but feel guilty for not being productive. Even leisure becomes another task on the to-do list. Did you meditate today? Did you journal? Did you optimize your downtime? This constant pursuit of balance leads many of us to feel like we're always coming up short. The more we chase it, the more elusive it becomes. Our inboxes overflow, social commitments pile up, and digital distractions keep us tethered to responsibilities 24/7. The goalposts for balance keep moving, leaving us in a state of chronic dissatisfaction. So, the question emerges, is true work-life balance even possible in the modern world? Or are we chasing a fantasy that only sets us up for failure? To answer this, we might need to stop looking forward and start looking back to thinkers like Henry David Thoreau, who, over 150 years ago, warned us about the costs of modern busyness and the value of a simpler, more intentional life. The trap of constant pursuit. Modern life is structured around achievement. We're encouraged to have it all: a fulfilling career, a loving family, a thriving social life, physical health, personal hobbies, and even time to meditate or journal before bed. On paper, it sounds possible. In practice, it feels like trying to juggle flaming swords while riding a unicycle. This relentless pursuit of equilibrium often creates more stress than it alleviates. We internalize the idea that if we're not achieving perfect balance, we're somehow failing. We compare ourselves to curated online versions of other people's lives and wonder why we can't manage to fit it all in. There's also an inherent contradiction in the way modern society treats time. We glorify hustle culture, the idea that every spare moment should be used to optimize, produce, or improve. Yet we simultaneously romanticize slow living, advocating for weekend getaways, unplugged evenings, and work boundaries. These conflicting narratives create cognitive dissonance. We're pulled in two directions, expected to maximize both our productivity and our leisure. Technology compounds the problem. Remote work, once seen as the ultimate solution for balance, has paradoxically made it harder to disconnect. The office is now in our pockets. Notifications blur the lines between professional and personal time, making it difficult to know when work actually ends. As a result, many of us live in a state of perpetual distraction, never fully present at work or at home, constantly switching between roles without the satisfaction of completing either one. Well, this isn't just exhausting, it's unsustainable. It's Thoreau's insight, the case for simplicity. When Henry David Thoreau retreated to a cabin by Walden Pond in 1845, he wasn't escaping life, he was attempting to rediscover it. In his seminal work, Walden Thoreau records his 2-year experiment in simple living. He wanted to strip life down to its essentials and find out what truly mattered. "Our life is frittered away by detail," he wrote. "Simplify, simplify." Thoreau observed, even in the relatively slow-paced 19th century, that people were becoming enslaved by work and material pursuits. They built bigger houses only to fill them with things they didn't need. They worked harder not because they loved their labor, but to keep up with societal expectations. Thoreau questioned whether all this striving led to a life well lived or just a life well spent. He argued for self-reliance, intentionality, and simplicity. To Thoreau, the good life wasn't one measured by wealth or professional success, but by how deeply one engaged with the world around them. Nature, reflection, meaningful work, and honest conversation were his currencies of fulfillment. Most importantly, Thoreau warned against the trap of constant achievement. He saw this as a prison, not a path to happiness. Instead, he proposed a life where the measure of success wasn't accumulation or accolades, but clarity of purpose and peace of mind. Today, we are more connected and productive than ever before. We have apps to track our sleep, devices to schedule every minute, and social media feeds constantly reminding us of other people's achievements. Yet many of us feel more disconnected from ourselves and from life than Thoreau ever imagined possible. Perhaps the problem isn't that we're failing to balance work and life, it's that we're approaching the whole concept wrong. beyond balance. The case for work-life integration? One of the fundamental flaws in the work-life balance narrative is its assumption that work and life are separate, competing forces. On one side, we have our careers meetings, deadlines, ambitions. On the other, we have life, family, hobbies, rest, play. The goal, we're told, is to find the perfect way to split our time between the two. But this division is artificial. Thoreau would likely argue that life is one continuous experience, not two compartments. Work is not something that happens apart from life. It is part of life. When we try to balance the two as if they are opposing forces, we create unnecessary tension. We feel guilt when we prioritize work and shame when we prioritize rest. We toggle back and forth like a pendulum, never feeling fully satisfied. Work-life integration offers a different paradigm. Rather than striving for perfect balance, integration encourages us to find harmony between all the parts of our existence. This means pursuing work that aligns with our values and passions, so that it feels like a meaningful extension of life, not a detour from it. It also means allowing the richness of personal life to inform how we work, leading to more empathy, creativity, and resilience. Integration doesn't mean there won't be busy seasons or moments of stress. Thoreau's own life wasn't without labor. He spent his days chopping wood, growing food, and writing extensively. But his work was tied to his purpose. It nourished him instead of draining him. When we stop obsessing over dividing our time and start focusing on the quality of how we spend it, something shifts. The goal becomes meaningful living, not just meticulous scheduling. Modern applications of Thoreau's wisdom. So how do we apply Thoreau's ideas to the chaos of modern life? After all, most of us can't walk away from our jobs, build a cabin in the woods, and grow beans for dinner. We live in cities and suburbs, pay rent or mortgages, support families, and navigate a digital economy that never sleeps. Still, Thoreau's lessons aren't about abandoning responsibility. They're about redefining success and intentionally curating our lives. Here's how we might begin to do that. 1. Prioritize meaningful work. One of the biggest sources of burnout comes from doing work that feels meaningless. When we invest time in projects or jobs that don't align with our values, even small tasks can feel like heavy burdens. Of course, not everyone has the luxury to chase their dream job immediately. But Thoreau's advice isn't about chasing passion at all costs. It's about aligning work with purpose where possible. This might mean choosing companies or clients whose missions resonate with your own. Looking for ways to bring creativity or service into your current role. Viewing mundane tasks through a lens of contribution and care. When our work connects to a larger sense of why, it becomes part of our life's narrative, not a distraction from it. 2. Cultivate mindfulness and presence. Thoreau spent long hours observing nature, writing, and simply sitting quietly by the pond. He believed that slowing down was essential to waking up to life, to purpose, to joy. In the modern world, mindfulness can serve the same role. Practices like meditation, journaling, or even just breathing intentionally during the day help anchor us to the present moment. They remind us that life is not a series of checkboxes, but a continuous experience to be lived here and now. Bringing mindfulness into both work and personal life reduces the friction between them. Meetings become opportunities for connection. Dinner with family becomes more than a rushed obligation. Even mundane chores can become meditative when approached with attention. 3. Embrace simplicity and declutter life. Much of our stress comes from overcomplication. Too many possessions, too many commitments, too much digital noise. We say yes to things out of habit or obligation, crowding our calendars and minds. Thoreau advocated for voluntary simplicity. In modern terms, this might mean decluttering schedules, saying no to unnecessary meetings, social events, or obligations. Simplifying finances, avoiding lifestyle inflation, and focusing on needs over wants. Reducing digital noise, limiting social media use, muting notifications, and carving out tech-free time. Creating daily rituals, having small, grounding practices that bring calm and clarity. When we clear out the excess, we create room for what truly matters: relationships, creative pursuits, personal growth, and rest. The path to fulfillment. Living intentionally. Ultimately, the path to fulfillment is not about perfect time management. It's about intentional living. Thoreau wasn't trying to optimize his schedule. He was trying to live a life worth remembering. "I went to the woods because I wished to live deliberately," he wrote, "to front only the essential facts of life and see if I could not learn what it had to teach." In today's terms, living deliberately might mean choosing work that contributes to your growth or serves others meaningfully, making space for relationships that nourish you rather than drain you, taking time to reflect regularly, asking, "Is this how I want to spend my one life?" Allowing moments of stillness where nothing is required of you except to be fully alive. Thoreau's wisdom reminds us that life isn't just about doing, it's about being. Sometimes the most productive thing we can do is pause, breathe, and listen to the quiet hum of existence. Redefining success in the modern age. In our modern world, the idea of work-life balance often feels like a cruel joke. The pressures of productivity, the lure of comparison, the speed of technology make it almost impossible to maintain a perfect equilibrium. But maybe the answer isn't to keep striving for balances, to let go of the illusion altogether. Thoreau's life teaches us that simplicity, presence, and purpose matter far more than rigid structures. By integrating work and life into a harmonious whole, we can stop living in conflict with ourselves. This doesn't mean quitting our jobs or moving to the woods. It means asking deeper questions. Why am I doing this work? What truly matters to me? How can I make my days more intentional and less reactive? What can I let go of to make space for a more meaningful life? When we live with this kind of reflection, balance becomes less important than fulfillment. Life becomes less about juggling and more about flowing. Perhaps that's the real secret, not achieving work-life balance, but embracing work-life meaning. In the end, Thoreau's advice is not a relic of a simpler past. It's a guidepost for the present and future, a call to stop chasing. Start living, and remember that a good life is one built not on constant motion, but on conscious choice.